What's going on, guys? I know I'm really late to the party, but I've always wanted to review this camera or this line of camera. I've been shooting with it for almost a year now, so here's my review of the Fujifilm X100F. Now, this is not going to be a full, comprehensive, or specs review. This is just about my experience and opinion on the camera. So I've been shooting Fuji cameras since 2012. The X Pro 1, the XE1, the XT1, then the X Pro 2, the XT2. Ever since I heard about the first X100, I was super interested, but I never went for the original X100. I think the X100S was my first official Fuji camera. And there's always been something really special about the X100 lineup to me. The experience with this camera, you can't really understand until you try it. I think people that are really caught up in specs will go look at B&H and look at the megapixels on this camera, maximum aperture of f2. You can't change the lens, and I think this scares them. You know, they see the $1,200 price tag and they think, what makes this camera so much better than any other camera for $1,200 that I can change lenses? I have never been someone to enjoy lugging around a DSLR in multiple lenses. To me, that's what I love most about this camera, is that I can't change the lens. The camera creates just unbelievable images. The files are awesome. The X-Trans sensor, I'm gonna show you guys some of the images I've taken with the X100F since I've had it a year. Some pictures from weddings, some band promos. I'll even throw in some photos from the X100S. This camera is silent. Straight out of the box, it will have like a shutter sound on it, and it's super funny, it's super corny, it sounds nothing like a real shutter. This is what it sounds like. I don't even know if you can hear it, it's that quiet. The camera feels great to hold in the hand. You know, I have the official Fuji half case on it. It gives it a little more grip, and I also have the thumb grip that opens and closes. But honestly, if you take those things away, it feels right. One thing that people absolutely love is it has a hybrid viewfinder. I use the electronic part of it 99.9% of the time. There's even like a little switcheroo, little thing down in the corner there. It's cool, but honestly, I don't use it. The lens on this camera is absolutely amazing. If you're shooting at f2, sometimes you'll slightly miss focus, especially when you're shooting up really close. Things have a tendency to get really soft. If you stop down to about 2.8, f4, that's when things start to get really sharp. You know, sometimes I do wish that I could open up to f1.4 or something like that, but I don't think it would be possible for it to still be like this. Without all the extra accessories on it, you could fit this in your back pocket. This is small. If I'm at a wedding and I'm shooting this, people aren't intimidated. I'm not throwing a huge camera in their face. And I know that that argument can get really old, but it's true. You know, until you try it, you don't see how people respond to a camera. You know, honestly, most of the time people think that this is a film camera. This camera has a leaf shutter. When you use it right, it's really cool. The film simulations on this camera are amazing. They've recently added classic chrome to most Fuji cameras. I don't know if all cameras. Classic chrome is amazing. The new black and white Acros is amazing. I also use Velvia sometimes. I don't really touch any of the other ones. The focusing issues that have forever existed in this camera, to me, no longer exist. I primarily shoot weddings. You know, I use this camera for getting ready shots, the reception photos, and for those things, it's definitely good enough. Focus selection is a game changer. So now that I've said all the focusing issues are fixed and are significantly better on the F, it still struggles in the dark, in very low light. The ISO performance on this camera is unbelievable, especially for an APS-C size sensor. Definitely has a tendency to hunt. Now, depending on your shooting situation, what you're shooting, you can switch over to manual focus. This lens is focused by wire, so it's not the most pleasing manual focus experience, but it does have focus peaking. And if you're not really in a rush to get the shot, then you can easily switch to manual focus and get the shot you want in the dark. I swear the biggest topic of this camera, ISO control inside the shutter wheel. I don't have a problem with it. When I'm like running and gunning for weddings or something like that, I'll put that sucker in ISO auto with minimum shutter speed, 1/60th, 1/80th, and 1/125th of a second. Depending on my situation, I can decide I don't want to go under 1/120th of a second, and I want to be able to capture the motion. If your biggest concern is creamy, delicious bokeh background at f2 shooting portraits, this does a good enough job for me. I'm happy with it. If your concern is ISO performance, I wouldn't be very comfortable going beyond 6400 in professional wedding work, but I have taken images that go up to 12,800, and they're still pretty damn clean. APS-C shoots ISO 25,000 whatever, and it does a really good job at noise control. You can go out and buy a couple conversion lenses for this camera. Personally, I've owned both. I think with the 50mm equivalent, you lose like one stop of light, but in terms of sharpness, image quality, you don't lose anything. If you're looking to get those conversion lenses to make your photos a little bit wider or get a little bit closer, you know, for more portrait work, don't be afraid to get them, or at least rent them and try them, because they are awesome and they're fairly cheap. Okay guys, so left on the D-pad here, I have this set to film simulation. You can go into the Q menu and you have your custom base sets here, custom 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it goes up to 7. When I'm just running gun shooting JPEGs and I want to change the film simulation just really quick, I have that set as left on the D-pad. So on the right, I have that as the auto ISO settings. This is a game changer for me when I'm shooting weddings. 1/125th of a second minimum shutter speed, 1/80th of a second, and 1/60th of a second. Clicking down, I have this on flash mode. A lot of the times I'm not shooting flash with this camera, but sometimes I want to add a little fill. Obviously up is your drive mode. And this little button here on the front, I love this button. I'm so glad this turns into a function button. I use this for autofocus mode, where you can switch between single point, zone focus, and wide tracking. Up here on top, your little function button, I know a lot of people that use this for a bunch of different things. For me, I use this sucker for the ND filter. Okay, so this dial on the front, I use that as magnification. Sometimes I shoot manual focus and I want to punch in and check my focus, even though I have focus peaking on. It's just a really convenient place to have magnification. I also have this Gary's half case. I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. But this thing is sick. It's really pricey, but look at the bottom. When I'm shooting weddings, this thing is perfect. I have a hold fast money maker, and I'm never worried about damaging the bottom, and I still have quick access to the battery when I need to get in it, and it just looks really good too. I also have the lens hood adapter on this camera. Then you can just put a clear UV filter on it and then snap the hood on. Honestly, I love this. Half the time I don't have the lens hood on. I feel like I don't ever need the lens cap. I just wipe off the UV filter, and that saves me a significant amount of time, and I don't have to worry about losing that stupid lens cap. I also have a shutter button. It's black. Not really sure where I got it, but I wanted it because it was black and matches the black camera. I've seen a lot of love and hate on the LensMate thumb grip. On other Fuji cameras, it doesn't block anything, and on this one it definitely blocks the thumb wheel. I've just gotten used to, opening it when I need access to it. I use this as magnification, like when I'm manual focusing or something like that, and I've just gotten used to opening and close it. It helps the comfortability of holding the camera. If you're one of those people that think the grip's not big enough, then the thumb grip helps out. Not sure where I got this lens strap. Those of you watching, you know what type this is. Steve Huff uses these straps. I've seen a bunch of people use these straps. They're very popular on these lighter mirrorless cameras because the camera's not that heavy. I also have a couple Gordy straps. Gordy makes great straps. They're great for these mirrorless little cameras. I've grown to love the 35mm field of view. It's such a classic wide, but not too wide, just like a wide portrait. To me, it's so versatile. I know what kind of shot I'm gonna get. I know what field of view I'm gonna get. I know what it's gonna look like. If anything, I've grown a brand, I've grown a style from that. The limitations have made me better at what I do. I know so many people that have wanted to start getting into photography, and they buy an entry-level DSLR. Now, I am not knocking those cameras. I think once you figure out how to shoot those cameras, they can be great cameras. But if you're a new photographer trying to learn photography, you know, understanding aperture, shutter speed, ISO, and how they all coexist to create the perfect shot, then I would suggest you go out, get on eBay, and buy the original X100. And you have physical dials to understand. You don't have to menu dive. You don't have to understand, well, what does this dial do? I know not everybody feels the same way about this camera. I even know people that have bought this camera and returned it because it wasn't what they wanted. $1,200 and then buying all the accessories and stuff, that's kind of hard to justify when you can buy a decent DSLR and a couple lenses for $1,500. But they're different experiences, they're different cameras, and they do different things. Some of the images people create from this camera, it's just amazing. Cameras in photography, it's not always about having the best gear or having the widest lens for landscape. I think this camera is special, and I think that there's a lot of people that see it that way too. That's the beauty of it. You know, that's the beauty of photography, that's the beauty of opinion and different styles and different types of shooters. I'm so glad that not all photographers shoot the same way, see things the same way. This is just my opinion on this camera. I have no issues using this camera professionally. I have used this camera professionally, but also you can take this camera anywhere. I do take it everywhere. I wouldn't want to be without this camera. My cell phone, and I have my camera. I don't want to just be able to take pictures with this. The pictures with this are amazing. They're really good, but it's not a camera, a designated camera. That's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching and listening to my opinions on this camera. This is my first ever review. It was really fun. I hope that I get to do more in the future. But until next time, I'm Alex Cheney. Thanks for watching.